This isn't just a tier list. Today's video, we will be talking about theory to help you navigate the best guns for your playstyle and what to run based on how a lobby is flowing on Apex Legends. What we will be using is a TTK breakdown created by Privacy. His Twitter's in the description, and I highly recommend you check out his Twitch channel as he comes up with a lot of great theories, and this chart is just fantastic. And also, we're going to reference it throughout today's video. Now, amazing work is done on the list, but I waited so long because I kept noticing a lot of balance changes that kept happening. So this list is a little dated, but here are some of the changes that Respawn has made. Number 1. Weapon tuning for the L-Star Rampage is to 19, this was 20, and overheats slightly faster. Also, the weapon tuning for the Rampage is damage reduction to 29, this was 30. Now, there is a second set of nerfs that also came out. The EVA 8 rate of fire reduced at base in all bolt tiers. The Hemlock burst fire delayed was reduced. The P2020 damage is increased to 25, it was 24, and Akimbo hip fire spread is also tightened. The Mozambique pellet damage increased to 17, it was 16, and spread tightened. Additionally, the RE45 base magazine was increased to 20, this was 18, and the white magazine is of course 21, this was 20. If you want all those values, we covered it during the launch of the season as well. Every gun on Apex Legends is essentially buffed if you're still new and this is your first video coming back. Watching that full video as well will help you answer. I'll have it in the description down below. What we're going to do is follow a flow of logic through most commonly asked questions to answer the questions of what are the best guns. Everything is time-stamped. So the first question is, why are people not running shotguns as much? Well, one of the biggest things is bubble meta, bubble dancing. This can occur with Gibraltar's bubble, the most infamous when it comes to bubble dancing, getting that burst damage in. Lifeline's ultimate can also do the same thing. Newcastle tactical to hide behind and do quick peeks. And while not a bubble, his wall is definitely strong for peeking cover. Also, Rampart does have a place in creating walls and going for peeks, just to name a few. This meta during the last season, no matter how fast something shot like the R99, was not affected because spray meta depends on being able to have 100% uptime. If someone is dancing in and out of bubble, I promise you half or not more of your shots are not going to land as effectively. While every gun has been buffed in Apex Legends Season 24, we see what was becoming a lot more powerful is the EVA 8. Until its most recent nerf. It's still good, trust me, because it also has sustained damage per second. This is why it was hard focused, is because it was bridging the gap between spray meta and shotgun meta. So now we answered that first important question. Considering how impactful the Mastiff was in the prior season, everyone is now asking, are spray loadouts king then? Yes and no. Because you have more sustained damage going out, every miss is not really as impactful because even if you bullets missed, you can still be strong in knocking an opponent or doing significant damage. The problem posed by every loadout below the G7 Scout on this chart is really it hurts the time to eliminate somebody if you happen to miss a shot. Trust me, if you happen to even land half of a shot of a Mastiff, you're gonna be in trouble. Now versus before with spray, unless you were insanely accurate, you probably needed to reload or switch to a secondary loadout. But for someone watching this, if you can land a majority of your shotgun shots, you're peeking from cover and have a strong chance to win. Now remember, the Assault class has a really fast way of reloading where everyone seems like they have a gold magazine, which also helps spray loadouts like we had mentioned. Remember though, even seasoned players can find shotgun meta such as Mastiffs difficult to land. You've seen it definitely in LAN or tournaments and even high-level ranked where sometimes you just whiff. Despite being in the care package, remember that the Peacekeeper can lose against a fully kitted R99 because time to eliminate with the R99 is so fast. So here's a downside of running multiple spray loadouts though. This is something to keep in mind. Ammo economy. This is why Loba is really impactful. You see her run quite a bit in ranked, but you will run out of ammo much faster versus a shotgun or a DMR. We have covered this concept in a video prior and I'll post it down in the description to make sure this video is being time efficient. But blasting full ammo of a G7 Scout is going to last way longer versus going through an R301 at a distance. That's just simple math everyone forgets. Here's the concept though. If you don't have a Loba, holding zone with a flatline and an R99 is going to be really strong to win fights, but very rough on ammo and dealing sustained damage. But it's in those moments a G7 Scout and a car SMG will be much better for your playstyle if you happen to be playing more zone. But here's something to consider, and most people aren't talking about, is currently most lobbies play out outside of actual tournament play. They're very aggressive. I mean, you'll notice that after the first zone, sometimes in ranked, you'll only see 8 squads remaining, maybe even 10. So you could, in theory, maintain momentum with a flatline R99 because fights are ending so quickly and you're gathering their resources. But essentially, the goal here is to be aggressive. And you'll notice that if everyone in the lobby is pretty aggressive, well, it kind of leans into running those loadouts. So that leads to the next point here. Your playstyle is going to dictate your loadout choice. The best aggro meta is going to be probably an AR in your first slot, and a secondary will be an additional spray loadout. An example, flatline and R99. Second example, R301 plus a Volt. A third example, Nemesis and a car SMG for the ultimate recharge, because that's going to be insane. Now you can double up on ammo type. You'll notice here I'm trying to divide out, making sure I'm being ammo efficient. But remember that note about ammo economy and how aggressive you're going to have to be. This puts burst at mid-range in a pretty unique spot, being able to be a tad more efficient, but also maintaining solid pressure. Same for loadouts like the Prowler close range. Just know in an open fight versus an R99 or car SMG, you're not going to be in a great spot. So most people are asking, well then what guns are the weakest? Pretty much the weakest guns this season are going to be the Devotion, probably the Mozambique and P2020 because you got to find so much attachment to it, but the Devotion specifically because that ramp up time is insane unless you ramp up behind cover as if you're using a Sheila. It's going to lose in a majority of encounters, realistically. Here's some recommendations that I would have that might help you out. So let's start with the light gun loadouts. Close range, you're really looking at the R99, car SMG being, I guess, a second, depending on your playstyle, plus that ultimate charge is insane. The alternator probably in third, and RE45 at bottom. But realistically, you can interchange these. The TTK is pretty fast when you look at the chart, it's not too bad. Mid-range, I would probably recommend the R301 over the Spitfire due to easy recoil control, but remember, the Spitfire does have a very large magazine size, and close range, that can be very, very helpful, depending if you put it in a secondary slot. This puts the Scout in a really weird situation where it's more or less if you're holding a specific point and you're looking to be more ammo efficient, and if you have the skill to back it up, it can be pretty powerful. So now, next up, let's talk about heavy loadouts. Close range, car SMG because it is flexible, and the Prowler. Mid-range, the flatline is always my personal preference. The recoil control is pretty easy, but remember, a charge rampage is very, very scary. The Hemlock is strong, but they did nerf it slightly. It's just not as effective, but in the right hands, that burst can be very powerful at mid-range. The 30-30, again, I'm putting in its own category to be more ammo efficient and balancing depending on your playstyle. Now, up next is the energy category. Close range and mid-range are pretty weird here because the Havoc, L-Star, and the Volt are all very strong. The Havoc is definitely the clearest winner, the L-Star is busted but did get nerfed, but these guns can be utilized in mid-range as well, and close range. They're very powerful. Energy is just weird. It has a very odd niche, so to speak, but the struggle is also ammo economy because you can't really hold as much either. The Nemesis is still powerful mid-range unless it's ramped up, and it's going to struggle against any close-range loadout. The Devotion, again, I cannot recommend this at all. It's just not there. But of course, the next thing here is that you're going to realize is the theme, right? The triple take is really great as a shotgun, and depending on mid-range can be ammo efficient and maintain pressure. You see the theme here. I would avoid the P2020 or even the Mozambique due to just how much you got to gather resource. You need to get the attachments, the bolt, you need to find a second one, and that can be pretty difficult unless you're running Loba. And honestly, if you have the skill to run those two loadouts, I would love to see you with an R99 instead, because I'm pretty sure you're going to dominate. And of course, let's talk about shotguns, because it really is just the Peacekeeper. It has the care package power, EVA 8 for sustained damage per second, Mastiff is really in third. But that leaves us with our final point. We need to talk about snipers because they're really not on this list at all. Because there is no helmet, they do have an insane burst and a lot of power. I mean, check out my friend's clip here, Sarah. She's insane. And if you have the skill for it, then it really, really works. The Sentinel has one of the best bursts in the game, and you can one-shot anybody at a distance when it's charged if you get a headshot with 158 damage. The longbow is being kind of in the middle ground, and the charge rifle being an absolute demon with its rate of fire. The Wingman does have its place, but you'll notice everything here is very skill shot and skill based. Here's some warnings though. Most people who snipe don't push effectively or are late to securing knocks. If you do choose to snipe, you need to be effective in following up and maintaining pressure, but you also need to ensure you land your shots and have the aim to follow it up. The worst thing is missing all your shots, then that time to eliminate literally doesn't matter because you're not doing any damage. I know it isn't much to cover because it's more or less all or nothing, because the meta is so aggro, you need to match it. But remember, the more aggressive you are, the more accurate and skill that is going to be required if you're going to snipe. So then it poses a question: if you're doing that, why not just run a flatline or R301 just to be safe? But remember, snipers can be quite ammo efficient. Remember, this is not a tier list, it's just more or less suggestions to find your best loadout. I have seen some insane plays, and really players are finding everything useful on this list despite the TTK, because everything is so fast. You just have to remember, what is your playstyle, what ammo economy are you going based off of, what are your teammates running, and remember, another quick note, don't stand out in the open. Don't make this chart even more true. If you have proper cover, well, it doesn't really matter because you're ducking and weaving properly so they can't eliminate you. I hope this video is helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.